Welcome to the Master Your Millions podcast, the show all about your financial potential and leaving a legacy for future generations. Here are your hosts, Jason and Scott Henderson.
I am your host, Scott Henderson, and my co-host is Dr. J. We've got a very special guest coming on today. Jason, who do we have coming on?
Well, Scott, we have someone that has 25 plus years as an international bestseller and media magnate. Her claim to fame, I guess, somewhat, is a book called Guerrilla Publicity that is now in its third edition. And she is able to get people on stages, to get them noticed, to get them on all kinds of media outlets, whether that's television, radio, other different ways. She has the ability to up level your awareness, because let's face it, customers cannot buy anything from you unless they know about you. And so I'm very happy to finally, because it has been on again, off again with Jill, but I'm very happy to welcome Jill Lublin to the podcast. Well, thanks for being with us, Jill.
Thank you, Jason and Scott. Happy to be here with both of you.
Of course.
Well, tell us.
Pretty good for being 27 years old and having 20 years of experience.
That's right. I started young.
Good.
Tell us a little bit, just some of your journey with Guerrilla Publicity. I mean, it's those in the know of this book, and I mean, this I believe has catapulted to where you shared the stage with the likes of Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Barbara Corcoran, lots of other celebrities. Just tell us, give us a brief background about Guerrilla Publicity and what really that does for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, it was totally a blessing. The whole guerrilla marketing series is J. Conrad Levinson, which has sold over 1 million books. And Jay knew that I was an expert in publicity, and so had me write Guerrilla Publicity. That was super exciting. And talk about, yes, catapulting a career. It certainly has helped me speak on over 6 continents now, and just really help over literally 100,000 entrepreneurs. And the journey, like every journey, is filled with twists and turns. But mostly I've been steady straight on always supporting entrepreneurs, because publicity is the actual strategy that will get you prospects and clients, trust and credibility in the marketplace, and gives you the visibility that every entrepreneur deserves. And that's really what publicity does. And whether you all know it or not, you're actually always doing publicity. So let's do it right and have good systems in place to get publicity done and media knowing who you are.
And a person can read that book and know everything there is to know, or that's a starting point?
Well, let me just say we wrote it as a really complete way to get your publicity done, yes. And then, of course, mentors in your corner are always important. And for your specific strategy is always key too. But I think it's a great foundation book and will really get anybody started at any level.
So give us a maybe top 3 mistakes that people make in publicity, and then maybe the top 3 recommendations that you'd have for them.
Sure. Well, first of all, not doing anything is a big mistake. I think a lot of people, for some reason, keep saying anything from I'm not ready to I don't know what it takes, to maybe a bit of imposter syndrome themselves. So they do nothing to get started, which, of course, what we all know is that when you do nothing, nothing happens. So that's a big mistake. Number 2, that you approach publicity as a kind of braggadocious commercial way. We're not selling your product. The media's job is to promote your expertise, to offer you to their to their viewers and listeners and readers as an expert. And that's how you have to present yourself. So over commercialization, so to speak, in other words, trying to sell whatever you're trying to sell, is not the right way to enter it. And here's the good news. You're going to sell a lot of whatever you're trying to sell, but we don't go in that way. We go in as to serve others and to give them value and benefit. So that's mistake number 2. And mistake number 3 is not understanding the media mentality. They are fast and focused, they're detail oriented, but, frankly, impatient. And so you need to be really clear on your message and really strong on what you're going to say. First off the bat, I have a great formula for that, which gives people a lot of confidence. And so that has made all the difference. So those would be the 3 mistakes. And as far as some recommendations, I'd like to say, get on Google Alerts immediately with your name and like one word, small phrase at the most, of what it is that you offer. So for instance, I would put in the word publicity. I would put in the word kindness, because I wrote a book called The Profit of Kindness. And plus, of course, your name. And that way, whenever you're interviewed, it comes up. And whenever there's a story, so I'm always looking, are there stories on publicity? Are there stories on kindness? And that's how I know, for instance, that we can publicize World Kindness Day, November 13th, because it came up on Google Alerts, right? So you will get alerted to the stories that are appropriate for you. So that is super great. And then I would also go to nationaldaycalendar.com. It's a great resource for finding holidays that are perfect for you and whatever you're an expert in. So I definitely recommend to consult that resource. It's a great one. And then also—
I interrupt you there, but why? What do I need to know if it's National Kindness Day? Or is that days that you do a media blitz, or what is it? That's information, but how do you use it?
So the fact that I know, for instance, November 13th is World Kindness Day allows me to do a media blitz, absolutely. And frankly, I never do it on that day, because I believe you should plant flowers and grow your publicity garden. And so, anything around gardening means you allow time for it to bloom. One of the things I'd like, and this would be my 3rd tip, is think of your publicity like a garden and grow it. So there's flowers you plant now, and then there's things you plant for 3, 6, 9 months of blooming, right? And so if I'm in the beginning of the year and I know that November, 11 months from now, is World Kindness Day, I have lots of time to plant flowers and get great stories, which, by the way, we have been featured in Inc. magazine and Forbes magazine and CBS and Fox News more than 15 times because, Fox News TV, by the way, because of planting these seeds and doing it in right order, in good time, and ahead of the game, right? So you don't want to be, if World Kindness Day is November 13th, on November 12th and even November 13th, I'm not sending out stuff. It's just a little too tight. Maybe I might get lucky. Maybe, doubtfully though, because the media plans and they plan to have, news and people on. And of course, breaking stories always take somewhat precedence, but they still have their guests for the morning shows and for the evening news. There's always still guests, even amidst any breaking news.
Okay, so we talked a second ago about some of the common mistakes that are made. I would imagine you've got some stories on where you might have failed, and that's what taught you that. Could you share one of those with us?
Well, one of the things I think, when we miss an opportunity, of course, is kind of falls flat, right? So I remember a client who out of Australia and had a licensed product that was international, and got a call from Good Morning America to be on the show. Well, turns out, he, of course, has to also train all his people, all his franchisees. And that morning that they had asked him to be on the show, he was supposed to be on a training call. So much to my chagrin, when I found this story out, he said, no, but could something else work? Well, when the media needs you, they need you now. He should have said to all his franchisees, we're going to do the call a half an hour later, something just so simple. So one of the things you have to be is very flexible for the media and a ready yes. And I mean yes, no matter what. No matter if you understand fully what they're even asking you to talk about. Or in his case, he lost an amazing opportunity, by the way, to be seen on a major show. And I've seen this happen. Now, I'll tell you another positive story, that one of my clients, who is a trainer for major corporations, particularly in the area of cooking, they do cooking and team building, had really been trained by me and knew this response of yes, right? So here's what happened. NBC Nightly News calls her. Literally, they found her on an internet search looking for cooking, because they wanted to do a cooking show for Valentine's Day. And they wanted to do an aphrodisiac cooking show for Valentine's Day. So they said to her, can you do that? And she said to me, Jill, all I heard when they asked me this was your voice in the back of my head. She said to just say yes, because she said she would have said no. She didn't know what aphrodisiac cooking was. She didn't know how to spell it, and she didn't have any recipes for it. But, Google's a beautiful thing. And she picked up the phone, and we created a message for her, got it done. Most importantly, when the producer said, can you do this? She said yes. So one of the things that is so key for all of you is you must be a yes. Say yes all the time, no matter what, no matter if you're a little bit afraid or not totally, in alignment yet, because the reality is we'll get you there. There's all kinds of bridging techniques, which is actually what it's called in media, bridging techniques, when the media asks you one question that you can then answer with what you need to say. But let me tell you, she got some great recipes. She got 4.5 minutes on NBC Nightly News. And let me tell you, we looked it up. Had she paid for this, this is how amazing media is, because she would have spent $720,000. Okay, that's what she would have spent had she bought, let's call it advertising time. Not only was it free, completely free for her, but it was publicity. And imagine this, you walk into a client, you say, I've been featured in NBC Nightly News. They don't care if it's on one thing or another. The point is you've been featured. And that's really what I want everybody to totally get, is the power of publicity to generate your expertise and frankly do a lot of the work for you, because not only does it come in front for you and build your credibility, but it also is a gift that keeps on giving, because every client and every prospect can now see what you've been featured on, and you're walking your talk, and you're the verifiable expert.
I love that. So on your first story, he ended up saying no. How hard is it to get another invite, or is there no second chances if you do have the unfortunate experience to say no to something like that?
Well, it's happened once or twice with a few of my clients. If you absolutely have to say no, like you have a visit with the Pope or you're already on Oprah, I would say you can say, I would love to do that. Let me just tell you, I have an appointment at that time. Is there a way we could put it the next day, or could we record it for another time? In other words, offer them the option. So, for instance, there was a time I was on Dallas TV News, and I teach a media mastery intensive. Turns out I was busy all day, and there was a producer. There was a hot story. He knew I wrote Guerrilla Publicity, and he wanted my opinion on a hot story. Now, to be honest, I saw this text. I didn't even know the story had broken. I Googled it. I saw what was happening. I immediately responded back, and I say, I'm absolutely available. How's tomorrow at, 8:10? So I offered a very specific other solution. I will tell you, there are times where they're going to make their offer and it's gone. However, I find if you say, thank you so much, yes, I would love to, I'm busy right at that moment, and then offer them an alternative time, and does that work for you? Like you would with any business person, that often they will make that work. And the exception is that it's just so breaking news that they're about to feature it in 20 minutes, which, by the way, happens. Which is why, media people are on edge a lot, kind of fighting fires in their own way, finding great experts to comment on breaking stories.
I'm getting the feeling that the publicity you're talking about is mainly television and radio.
Well,
Does that discounting social media, or I mean, talk about that, because radio, television is, and I don't want this to come out wrong, but some people say that's old school, right? The young generation, they're all on Instagram and TikTok and yada yada yada, right? Speak a little bit to that for me.
Well, a couple things. First of all, publicity happens from the minute you walk out your door. So I want to give a very expanded definition of publicity. It's radio, it's television, it's print, it's newsletters, it's blogs, it's podcasts. It is also your social media. However, do not let social media be the shall we say, excuse for doing no publicity. It's not publicity. It's kind of a one-hit wonder. And I'm going to tell you that what's happening is that, yes, people are getting news on their phone. I do that every day too. I'm looking for headlines. I'm scanning for stories, right? So yes, people are reading news on their on their phone. But guess what? If you really still look at it, it's ABC News, Fox News, it's CNN, it's the news that you would watch on TV. It's just their archived quick version of it. So the distinction is social media is not publicity. Social media is social media. Now, my message formula, use that on social media. I promise you good results. Brag on your social media about your great publicity. Great results. Just don't use it instead of publicity, because it is not publicity. It's more one-hit wonders. Hopefully somebody's going to see your post. And, it is important for continuous exposure. Yes, all good. Just don't let it substitute for no publicity. Then you're going to get no publicity. That's the truth.
What kind of business would not benefit from what you do? I'm sitting like, I'm thinking about all our listeners and the wide range of people that we have on the podcast. And I'm not sure I'm coming up with anyone that wouldn't benefit from doing exactly what you're talking about, especially if they can get on radio. Because I mean, I'm thinking of realtors, for example, right now. We have a lot of people that do a lot of real estate have been on the podcast. You may go down the road, there may be a billboard with someone's face, say, hey, trust so and so to buy your next house, or yeah. But they would greatly benefit from being on a 30-second or 40-second spot on the morning news, possibly even more than the billboard. Am I right? Am I thinking correctly? Or
you are definitely thinking correctly. Listen, the billboard is advertising. You pay for that. That's great. There is recognition in that. I love that. Yes, and now imagine this. Now your name's being heard again because you're featured on, XYZ radio station or a podcast or in a blog, or they see you in the newspaper, especially obviously realtors. I worked a lot with realtors, so we go local real estate editor, for example, local business editor, because if you're in real estate, you're also in business. So these are some of the things we would do, is zoom in on, for example, as a realtor, what is a distinction? Like, if you're going to tell people how to buy their first home, give us 3 great tips for a great home, or another story, how can we sell our home quickly? When the pandemic was happening, I had some realtors and we did great publicity by telling people how to restructure their home to be, pandemic friendly, so to speak, with all the home-based offices, and to set up their home well. That was a great story that really worked. So you want to be fresh, you want to be standing out, and particularly realtors, how are people making decisions on realtors? So picture this, you walk into a client, you say, I'd like to share some of the publicity I've gotten, and that I am well thought of as an expert in my field. Already you're elevated status because you've done some publicity. It's a perception.
So you're out there sending messages to the producers, or the people that are looking for content at the radio station or the television station, saying, hey, I'm an expert in this area, look to me. Or how are you doing? Are you sending out packaged things? Here's a story maybe you could run with. What is it that you're actually doing?
Usually it's an email in the form of a message about I like to say, what's the problem today? The problem today is, and as an expert in real estate or publicity, I'm going to help your listeners or your readers with real solutions for how to, solve this problem. Because remember, media wants experts who are going to help others solve their problems, right? That's how I want all of you to think of yourselves as expert solution providers. And when you pitch that way, not like, oh, I do this or I do that, but I'm going to help your readers, because what the media cares about, and again, media is vast and expansive, and especially in today's market, that it is from the podcaster to the blogger to the radio station producer to the TV station to local news, which is great. I love local news, meaning print, radio, television, and your daily paper, for example, plus your business journals. I mean, all of these are excellent places to get a lot of media, because especially in your local market, the media needs you, and that way you can be a coach, you can have a product, you can be in real estate, you can be a chiropractor, whatever you're doing. We want to make it a story that other people care about.
Long pause. We'll edit it out. I was waiting to see if you had a question, Scott. We'll edit that out. So Jill, tell us, we're kind of getting towards the end of our time together, and this has been fabulous. In the event you were to tell us your next big goal, what you would like to get to, we'd like to give you an opportunity to kind of put that out to the universe, put it out there that this is what you want to do, and then in the same breath invite you to come back and celebrate with us when you accomplish that. What would that be?
Oh, thank you. So a couple things. One is I teach a media mastery intensive, which you've actually taken, Jason. And I would love 100 people in that. I do them quarterly now. We actually reduced how many times a year we're going to do it. So we're going to do 100 people at a time. And so that's serving more than 400 people a year. That's exciting to really get the formulas for doing media. So that's one thing. That, and I want to sponsor I do kindness circles based on my book, The Profit of Kindness. We do them monthly. And I would love a sponsor for that so we can go bigger and have kindness circle leaders around the country and around the world. And that's the next piece, is get a sponsor for that.
Excellent. And then we can put how to contact you in the show notes, someone that might be interested in that or something. But when you do that and you have that sponsor comes along, I'd be happy for you to text me and say, Jason, I did it. And it'd be fun to celebrate with you. Really love that. Scott, back to you.
Yeah, we would love that. Thank you again for coming on. This has been great.
Thank you for having me, both of you.
Like Jason said, guys, remember that we will put all the links in the show notes down below. If you'd like to connect with our guest or us, both links will be down there. If you like this show, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us out with the algorithms. And remember that mastering your millions all starts with your mind and your team. Make sure they are the best. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to Master Your Millions with Jason and Scott Henderson. Check the show notes for any links or contact information about today's guest. Make sure to follow the show so you don't miss any future episodes.